I will be your instructor today. I am here at the Blue Lotus Wellness Collective in our beautiful studio. It is a gorgeous kind of winter day. We haven't gotten a ton of snow yet, but anyway, it's a beautiful day outside here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So today for our class, we are working on the second part of our beginner yoga series, and we'll be working again like we did last time on the warrior poses, and then we're also going to be adding in some work with the triangle pose. So we're going to get started with a warm-up. You will probably want blocks or a similar object, and then I have my yoga strap here. You can use a t-shirt, you can use a towel, you can basically use anything that allows you to just extend your reach a little bit. For our warm-up, we're going to go ahead and get into the tabletop or quadruped position, making sure the shoulders are right above the wrists and the hips are right above the knees. We're going to start our warm-up with a cat-cow. I like to kind of wiggle back and forth a little bit just to start feeling the areas that might need a little more attention during my practice. Feeling the mat underneath your hands. We're going to exhale, round the spine, tuck the tailbone and the chin, so we're leading with the head. Inhale. We're reversing the motion and the shoulder blades slide down and back. Exhale, back into our cat pose. Inhale, coming into cat. And we'll move through this a few more times. Next, we're going to bring the left foot forward into a lunge position. We have the back knee slightly behind the hip so that our hip is an extension. You can go ahead and grab your blocks if you have them. We're going to sink forward into that high lunge, leading with the head. And exhale, straighten that front leg out. My hamstrings are a little tight today. I had a really great workout yesterday, but I am feeling a little bit stiff this morning, so this practice will be really good for me. Inhale, we're moving forward, dropping the hips, leading with the head. Exhale, pushing back. Next, we're going to move the blocks out of the way. Inhale and come forward. And we're going to drop the knee so we are on the outside edge of the left foot. And we're just moving back and forth, just oscillating a little bit, opening up the hips, getting into the glutes. Great work. We're going to go ahead and switch sides. So grab your blocks, bringing the right foot into our lunge position, making sure that back knee is just behind the hip so that it's in extension. Inhale, leading with the head, drop into your lunge. Exhale. Ooh, there it is, those tight, stiff hamstrings. So when that happens, and sometimes the sides aren't even, and that's normal, you just have to readjust. You're never stuck in one position. Inhale, come forward. Exhale. Next, we're going to kick the blocks out of the way, come forward into our high lunge, drop the knee, and we're just oscillating back and forth. You can also do this on the blocks if you need to. Excellent. Next, we're going to push back into our tabletop position, moving into a thoracic rotation. So bringing the left hand behind the head, coming down to the right elbow on the inhale, and exhale, extend and rotate up. Go ahead and bring the left hand down. We're going to step back into our high plank, bringing the ankles together, tucking the tailbone and shifting forward. We're going to hold here for 5 breaths. Excellent. Go ahead and come back down. Switching to the thoracic rotation on the other side. Inhale as you bring your elbow down. Exhale as you extend up. Bringing the right hand down to the mat. We're going to be inhaling and then exhale, push back into our first downward facing dog of the day. You can pedal the feet. Just start to get familiar with the asana or the posture again. Pushing through the index finger and the thumb. Next, we're going to inhale, body roll forward into upward facing dog, leading with the head. Exhale. Back into downward facing dog. Inhale. Up dog. Exhale. Float the hips up. Inhale, upward facing dog, leaning with the head. Exhale, reverse the motion. Creating space in between the shoulder blades. Next, we're going to step to the top of the mat and just hang out in a forward fold. Now, with my hamstrings being a little tight and stiff, I'm going to use my blocks today so that I can maintain a flat lower back and I'm not hinging on the lumbar spine area. As your body gets used to the asana or the posture, you can increase your range of motion. Now, we don't want to have a bend in the knees. That confuses the brain because if the knees are bent, the hamstrings are active, and we're trying to stretch them, so we want them to be passive. So when you keep your knees straight, you're able to actually stretch the back of the legs. So it's better to change your range of motion than to try and modify by bending the knees so that you can touch the floor with your hands. All right, next we are slowly rolling up and getting ready for our first flow. So we're going to step back into Warrior One. Remembering to let the hips guide the movement, the pelvis to guide the movement. Inhale, we're going to shift the foot out, and exhale, coming into a nice strong Warrior Two, pushing against the mat with our feet, lengthening through the spine, and letting the hips, letting that outside hip kind of fall inward. Another cue that you might hear often is to line up your heels with each other. You don't have to do that. What we're looking for is hip width, and some people have wider hips. So I invite you, if you're struggling, especially with your balance, to step off the tightrope, and you can have a wide stance here and just feel the difference, how much more stable and comfortable that is when you allow your body to shape the asana instead of the other way around. Next, we're going to straighten the front leg, and you can kind of move this foot in forward if you need to. Grab your blocks if you have them handy, and if you need them, we'll just use one. We're going to be moving into triangle. So this is another one that you've probably heard cued in a way that asks you to keep your hips open. Because this hip position is basically the same as the warrior poses, we're going to allow this hip to roll forward. And you'll notice this feels so much more comfortable when you're not trying to keep your hips in a position they weren't meant to go in. We're reaching down with the block, letting that hip fall, still active in the legs, so we're holding ourselves up or just floating above the block. And bringing the arm up. This is triangle pose. And again, you're using your core, you're using all of your muscles to support yourself. So the block is just there to help with your range of motion. We're not putting all of our weight onto it. Next, we're gonna have a little balance challenge. You can float your block forward just a little bit. We're gonna come up. Let me find my positioning here. Into half moon. Now you can stay right here, or you can open up the arm. Excellent. Go ahead and bring the left foot down into our crescent pose. Bringing the hands down to the mat into high plank. We're going to inhale and then exhale, push into downward facing dog, and then we'll take a vinyasa. So that means coming forward, chaturanga down, upward facing dog, back to downward facing dog with the exhale. And this time we're bringing the left foot forward into our warrior one. Staying strong and active in the legs, gently engaging the core. I am going to scoot back a little bit because this position is not awesome for when we go into our half moon. Inhale, straighten the leg. Exhale, warrior two. Adjusting as you go. You're never stuck in one position. Next, you can go ahead and grab your block. We're going to straighten the front leg, letting the back hip, so the right hip, fall forward. Triangle pose. Actively holding yourself up, just floating on the block. Next, we're going to shift the block forward and floating up into our half moon, still letting that hip guide the asana. Lengthening from the foot, the bottom of the foot, to the top of the head. And engaging your core, gently pulling the belly button towards the spine, and notice how that changes your ability to balance. Bringing the right foot down into our crescent pose. Getting a gorgeous back bend in. Next, we're bringing the hands down to the mat and taking our vinyasa. Bringing the right foot forward. Coming up into warrior one. Notice that each time you come into an asana, you become a little more familiar with it. You get to know it a little bit better. It's easy to want to have everything perfect the very first time, but it takes a lot of practice. Practice makes permanent. Inhale, straighten the front leg. Exhale. This warrior two feels so good today. Engaging the core like you're lifting, floating above the mat. Reaching for your block. Maybe you're better at keeping them close to you than I am. Extending the front leg. Coming down, triangle pose. Using your core to support you. Focusing on your breathing, so never holding your breath. Next, we're going to reach forward. Coming up into our half moon. I love a good balance challenge. Bringing the left foot down to our crescent pose. Hands come down to the mat. Inhale and exhale. We're going to take our vinyasa. Inhale, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Leading with the head. Exhale, downward facing dog. Next, we're bringing the left foot forward. Coming into our warrior one. Inhale, straighten the front leg. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, straighten the front leg. Grab your block. Letting that back hip come forward, triangle pose. Shifting forward, coming into half moon. Bringing the right foot down. Crescent pose. Hands come down to the mat. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bringing the knees down to the mat, resting in child's pose. Next, we're coming up into tabletop, and you can go ahead and move your blocks out of the way if you need to. We're coming into our second flow. starting with downward facing dog, so pressing back. Now, if downward facing dog is not comfortable for you, the full movement is we're going to be bringing the leg up and then inhale to the chest. If that's too much, practice your bird dog. Very similar effects. So inhaling, pushing back into downward facing dog or bird dog, whichever you're doing. Float the left leg up. And then exhale, knee to chest. Gonna get our core work in today. Just 2 more on the side. Last one. Coming back into high plank, and we're dropping the right knee. Coming down onto our side. Stacking the feet. We're going to be going into a side plank. You can keep the knees bent and come up like this for the modification. Or you can keep your feet out and come up this way. We're holding for 5 breaths. Excellent. Go ahead and bring the hips down. Rolling up onto our sit bones. We're going to be working on boat pose. Now, we're going to, you'll hear it cued to keep your chest up and your back straight. The issue is that it makes it really hard to balance because your spine works as a unit. So if you're asking for your body to be straight like this, your pelvis is actually shifting, and it makes it hard to balance and hard to actually engage your core muscles. So we're going to let the back round. Like you're rounding over a beach ball. Give a beach ball right here and just notice that difference. So try it with a straight back, much harder. If you let your back round, you can actually focus on engaging your abs and the pose becomes much more comfortable. You can always keep your feet on the mat while you're just starting out too. A little extra challenge, you can bring your arms out to the sides. Beautiful, go ahead and come back down. Flipping back over. Coming into downward facing dog. Bringing the right foot up, or your bird dog, whichever. Inhale and then exhale, knees to chest. Last one, inhale, exhale. Go ahead and drop the knee. Coming into our side plank on the other side, so I'm going to flip over. Remember that you can keep the knees bent if you're just starting out, just working on your core strength, or you can extend your legs all the way. You want to make sure that your shoulder is right above your elbow. Now you might see my alignment not be 100% the way I'm describing. It can be really hard to do if you can't see yourself, and I cannot see myself while I'm teaching. So if my alignment isn't 100%, just like listen to the verbal cues instead of just following the video. All right, on the exhale, we're coming up, holding for 5 breaths. Beautiful, coming back down and back into boat pose. So remember, rounding like you're holding a beach ball right here, and that's going to allow you to really activate the core muscles instead of just focusing on balancing. And you can keep your feet on the mat. It's important with core work, especially if you're newly postpartum, not to strain. The goal isn't for your abs to be sore. Your abs don't have to be sore for them to be getting stronger. The most important thing with core work is control and ease. We don't necessarily want it to be difficult. When something's too difficult, it can make it hard to control your breathing, and with women especially, we don't want to be bearing down, especially after just having a baby. So it is important that your core work is really manageable. And if you're struggling to control your breathing or to really control the movement and feel your core muscles activate, then go for the easier modification. There's nothing wrong with that. Next, we are coming down onto our backs. Feels so good. Go ahead and grab your knees to your chest. Roll back and forth a little bit. Squeaky floor. All right, go ahead and bring your feet down to the mat. Bring your toes up, and you can experiment with your positioning a little bit. Everyone's a little different. We're going to be going into a bridge. So we are going to tuck the shoulder blades so they are activated and pushing into the floor. And we're tucking the chin like you're holding an orange. So not chin to chest, but you're also not like looking up, like looking straight back. We're going to inhale, and then exhale. Bring the hips up, pushing through the heels, activating the core. Inhale down. Exhale. And last one, we're going to hold. Squeezing the glutes, keeping the core strong. Great work. Go ahead and come back down to the mat. Hug your knees to your chest. Next, we're going to grab the blocks if you need them. Bring the feet together and let the knees fall out, using the blocks to support you. You don't want to feel any discomfort here. You might feel a little bit of a stretch. We're just going to rest in a supported butterfly. You can bring the arms up overhead if you want to. Oh, this block is going to fall. There we go. And just focus on relaxing and releasing all the tension in your body. So starting from the jaw, moving to the shoulders, letting your muscles melt into the mat, relaxing the abdominal muscles, relaxing the glutes and the pelvic floor. We're just taking a few breaths here. Whenever you're ready, you can grab your blocks. You'll need both of them or whatever you're using. Bring one knee up slowly and then the other. We're going to lift the hips up into our bridge and place the blocks right under the sacrum. So the sacrum is right in the lower back. And we're just gonna rest in a supported bridge. Now you can keep your knees up like this, or if you want a little bit more of a stretch, you can extend them. Whatever feels good to you. You might feel a little bit of compression in the spine. But again, we're just completely relaxing. This is a very gentle inversion. Inversions are so good for circulation. And for helping to get the lymphatic system moving. This is one of my favorite asanas or postures. It's most often used in yin, and sometimes I feel like I could just stay here all day. Whenever you're ready, start walking the feet up slowly. Lifting the hips and removing the blocks. We'll come back down onto the mat. Just staying here with your spine neutral. Go ahead and extend the arms out, and we're just going to gently let the knees fall to one side and then the other. Moving back and forth very slowly. Coming back to center. Next, we're crossing the left foot over the right knee, and you can grab your strap here if you want it. We're going to lace either your fingers, or you can hold the strap like this to give yourself a little more reach, whatever feels best for you. This is reclining pigeon or figure four. Go ahead and drop the right foot down, then the left, and we'll reverse the motion. Maybe this right here is enough for you. That's totally fine. If you have very tight hips, this might feel like a lot. If you need a little more, you can lace your hands or bring your strap behind your thigh. Drop the left foot down. Next, we're grabbing the strap or your t-shirt or whatever you have on hand. You don't need fancy yoga equipment to practice. We're going to place the loop over the right foot and gently extend the leg. So you want to feel a little sensation, but we don't want to be feeling pain. And we're just gently pressing the foot against the strap. If you want a little more, you can straighten the left leg down onto the mat. Maybe adding a little movement at the ankle. Noticing what sensations you experience and not making any judgments about them. They're not good or bad, they just are. Keeping the shoulders and the jaw relaxed. Go ahead and bring the right foot down and remove the strap, and we'll switch sides. Gently extending the left leg. You might notice tightness more on one side than the other. That is normal. You'll notice that decrease as you continue to practice consistently. And again, similar to our forward fold, we don't want to modify by keeping the knee bent. That confuses the brain because when the knee is bent, the hamstrings are active and we're trying to lengthen them. So instead of bending the knee, change your range of motion. So maybe out here is where you can have your knee straight and you still feel some sensation. That's totally fine. That's where the strap comes in. Again, keeping the shoulders relaxed and the jaw relaxed, the space between the eyebrows relaxed. Go ahead and remove the strap from your foot and slide it out of the way. Make sure your blocks are also at the top of your mat or somewhere where they're not going to get in the way. Gently bring your knees to your chest, or actually bring your feet down onto the mat. We're going to go into a twist, and I'm going to teach you how to set up for a twist properly. Now, you may remember me mentioning in the first video that your lumbar spine, your lower back, doesn't allow for a lot of rotation. We don't want to be rotating from the lower back because that's not its job. Rotation really starts in the thoracic spine area, so like the middle back. So when we're twisting, we want to be focusing on that and allowing our pelvis to move the way that it's supposed to in relation to the rest of our spine. So we're going to scoot our hips all the way to the right of the mat, bring the knees up, and then let them fall over. And this is in my opinion, the better and more supportive way to come into a twist. Twists have so many benefits. They help digestion, energy blockage, and they tend to show us areas that we're holding on to a lot of tension or maybe stagnation. So I like to focus on breathing right into this space, right under the armpit and kind of in the middle back. That area gets really tight for me, and a twist just opens it up so well. Beautiful. Go ahead and bring your knees back up. We'll move back to center. And then for the other side, shifting the hips all the way to the left side of the mat, bringing the knees up and letting them fall over. Finding that space where you're holding on to the most tension and breathing into it. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and bring the knees back to your chest. Shift your hips back to center. And we'll be coming into our final pose, which is Shavasana or corpse pose. Getting nice and comfortable. For the video's sake, we'll only have about a minute together here, but please stay as long as you can. This allows time for your mind and body to get on the same page. And for all of those changes that we just made, moving through ranges of motion and strengthening muscles that maybe haven't been used in a while, and allows for all of those changes to really set in. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time.